Hello folks, this is Davidan, and may God's peace, grace, and love be with you all. And I'd like to do a two-part video. This one is going to be calling out my sins, especially for sins of communication as according to the gospel. Before I get into anything else, we will do that. Now, when you have conversations with people, one of my biggest problems is my method of communication. I am brutal with it sometimes. Brutal! Even when I want to come off as gently rebuking or gently instructing or whatever, man, do I come off like an ass sometimes. Brutal! So, before I go into what I think is really important to talk about, let's go into Matthew 7, verses 3 to 5, talking about not judging, but in verse 5 it says, "First cast out the beam out of thine own eye, then shalt thee see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye." So if you want to be instructing people and stuff, you want to make sure in looking at how you failed as well. So in doing that, I certainly want to bring that up. We have a lot of verses to cover and only 15 minutes to do it, and we're already 1 minute and 30 seconds in. So, here we go. "I appeal to you, brothers," this is Romans 16, 17, and 18. "Watch out for those who cause divisions and create obstacles contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Avoid them. For such persons do not serve the Lord Christ, but their own appetites. And by the smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the hearts of the naive." So, a lot of the time you have what I did in one of these arguments, I approved someone's comment where it was like, "F the Sandy Hook truthers," and that's not going to really serve any purpose. Now, I said I wanted to show a better way. Now, I had someone asking me what was the better way, at which I was noticing that when I asked them the questions that how they come to the truth of what is Sandy Hook, they were showing doctrine. Their teaching how they come to know it is completely contrary. Now, I know that they said they were Christian, so I wanted to move on and see if we could have that conversation, but after a while, I realized that it was much more important to avoid them. Now, if you are engaged in conversation with these types of people, and you can't help it, even though you should be looking at that like I should have, maybe I shouldn't even approve the comment in the first place, the one where it was like, "F the Sandy Hook truthers," and there wouldn't have been an issue, but I still thought very important to look into as you're speaking with these people. If anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore them in a spirit of kindness or gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Now, gentleness, that is where I just go wrong. Just being that logician, amateur logician, very amateur, and also having the spirit in the flesh, when I was living in the flesh, of constantly wanting to be right, to prove someone wrong. This is something that I'm still having birthing pains with. So even when I'm trying to do it out of love, even when I'm trying to do it out of kindness, it still comes off as very terse. I come off as very terse, very brash, even when I'm trying to do it out of love. And that's a big problem that I have, a very big problem. And I pray to the Lord that I look at my own sin and I lean on His understanding to make that better. So going in, my hair's driving me crazy. So where could I have done that better? I was in a conversation where I wanted to be a discussion. Now, I use the word argument for a lot of the time for discussion or debate, right? Because a lot of people, I understand argument to be a discussion of points. That's what I think of the word argument. Not a negative sense, but a neutral sense. Now, I know that most people in this world, the word itself really it's not used like that anymore. It's pretty much primarily negative. When people hear argument, those big warning signs are going off, right? So that's something that I need to start watching which words I'm using even. I know it sounds like I'm walking on eggshells and I shouldn't, but at the same time, if you want to rebuke someone in love, you have to be very mindful of what you are saying, for sure. Now, Timothy, verses 2 and 5, don't worry, I will get to the ones at the end there. "Preach the word, be ready in season, in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort with complete patience and teaching. As for you, always be sober-minded, right? Not with anger or anything like that. Endure suffering. Do the work of an evangelist, and fulfill your ministry. If that person is not listening and they want to kick and scream, when you show them reason, when you show them doctrine from the Bible that is contrary to them, and they want to kick and scream about it, just deal with it. If you've entered into this conversation with them, let them do it. Let them do it. Don't, for what I did was after the second time, I don't know what's going on in my eye here today, it's kind of lazy. But anyways, after the second time, they're kicking and screaming, saying, oh, no, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, rather than actually mentioning the reasoning that I was talking about and the gospel, the many gospel verses at which I presented to them where they were in sin. I should have just let them do it, but instead, I didn't approve their comments on my channel. Now, for those who know what I'm talking about, I have the link down that you can see the full thing. So that's one way that I'm trying to correct myself. Now, let's go into, for these people, if they're kicking and screaming, right, after you've shown them reason and the gospel, okay, that clearly show that they are in the wrong, they are in sin. If they're claiming to be Christian, a follower of Christ, okay, we are instructed, if you go into 1 Corinthians 5:11 through 13, but now I'm writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother, claiming to be a Christian, if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, or is an idolater. Now, idolater, false god, false judgment, right? If you believe that your opinion is actually sound, contrary to what the gospel says, that is idolatry. A reviler, a drunkard, or swindler, a reviler, someone who's kicking up a big fuss as well, if you are trying to give them instruction, not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders? It is not those inside the church whom you are to judge. Or is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside, purge the evil person from among you. They can call you brother all they want. They can say that they're a follower of Christ all they want. But if they're not going to listen to sound teaching, such as the gospel and reason, then you can't consider them one of them. One of your brothers. Don't associate with them. And you can see that in Proverbs 15:32-33. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence. The fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. So if you have someone that is kicking and screaming, saying that they have more experience in the gospel when they don't understand, they don't know actually if they do or not, and they will not listen to sound doctrine, which is the gospel or reason, right? They despise themselves. This is not my opinion. This is the gospel here speaking. So, for example, one thing that I'm really bad at, well, especially when I was living in the flesh, was this right here. If someone wanted to correct me, man, I got ticked off. And you know what? I still have a little bit of a problem with that. I do. You can ask Chrissy. Sister Chrissy, man, she is a great rebuker, by the way. She does it like, you've never seen anybody who can do it with such kindness. It's unbelievable. And even then, sometimes I'm still... Now, luckily enough, I'm able to look at my own sins now, right? So it may not be right away, but very quickly, usually I come to realization, something I'm doing is wrong here and it needs to change. And I hope Chrissy could attest that there is a change happening there within me. But there are people out there, they're going to just kick and scream whenever you show them a different way, and there's nothing that you can do about that. So this is where we get into Titus 3:10 to 11, and this is something, this is where, if you don't follow this is where it gets you tempted, as was talking about in Galatians 6:1. But going to Titus 3, verses 10 through 11, as for a person who stirs up division, after warning him once and then twice, have nothing more to do with him, knowing that such a person is warped and sinful. he is self-condemned. Now, that's not my opinion, okay? If they won't listen to rebuke, okay, especially after the second time, that, well, you were supposed to be long enduring, but after the second time, if they're not listening to you, get them out of your life. You deserve the peace that the Lord has given you. So partake of it, right? Don't allow these people to take over your life, because what happens then, you can revile in anger. You can end up doing exactly what they're doing, trying to judge others, trying to, retaliate. When really, what we can be doing is learning, what am I doing that is contrary to the gospel? And this is kind of what I was looking. This is what I was doing. You know, after the second time, I was trying to make, let's go into a private conversation. But no, there was no evidence at which we were actually looking for debate. They can say it all they want. But at the end of the day, if they're not listening to reason, if they're not going to debate along those lines, they're just going to pull away from that. They're going to pull away from the gospel. It doesn't matter if they talk about they love the Lord, that they love the gospel. They're not talking about it. They're not debating it. If you notice that after the second time, stay clear of them. And there's already, if you go into Titus, as well as the Proverbs, what we were just speaking of just then, you need to wash your hands. 1 Corinthians 5:11, even if they say that they're a brother, right? Even if they say that they're a brother, you can't judge that except for their works, right? And if they're going to be kicking and screaming whenever they're being reproved, then, you know the difference. At least you can discern the difference as what the Word has given you, because the Word is sound teaching, right? Now, Proverbs 9:8, do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. That is what you're looking at. If you are talking about instruction, and if you know that someone's in the wrong, someone has clearly stated, something like sexual immorality and judgment, things like that, which is a form of idolatry, you are playing God, and they're not listening, you will know. This is a scoffer. This is a mocker. Okay, and stay clear of that, right? After you realize that they're not going to listen. Now, if you're worried about they're going to hate you, Galatians 1:10 has something to say about that. Am I seeking the approval of man or of God? Am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. And then going back to 1 Timothy, for the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching. Okay, they're not enduring the gospel. They're not enduring the Bible. But having itching ears, wanting ears. Like they want to hear what they want to hear. They want to hear good things. They want to hear about how the gospel gives them peace and stuff, but they don't want to listen to where it reproves them, which is really the cutting of the gospel, that sword, the cut, that wound that will heal you in the end. But if they don't want to listen to that, then that's a big problem. They will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into mist. Now, this is no joke. If you're a Christian and the Bible is telling you that you're itching ears accumulating for yourself to suit your own passions, you will turn away from the truth. You have a big problem upon your hands. A big one. So, getting into it, and 1 Peter 2:19 to 21 will also state too that you are to endure, you suffer the endurance. If you want to enter into conversation with someone, make sure that they're not, if you see that they're just trying to cause division and revel somebody up, don't take part in it. Number two, if you will take part in it, if you believe that this person is walking in the Spirit and this is just a form of instruction, make sure that you can do it as humbly as possible. But number three, if they're not going to listen to you, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't worry about when they kick and scream. Let them do it. Let them do it. Let them show themselves to the ones that actually know, but don't allow that to kick you up. And thirdly, rebuke with the real gospel. So this has been Avidan. I'll be back for part 2 where I do that. And I will be talking to you soon. May God's peace, grace, and love be with you all. God bless.